Welcome to Real Talk, Real Advice and Real Difference. I'm your host, Najib. And in this podcast, we bring you conversations from leading experts with experience, stories and advice to help you become a better agent and impact this industry and the community for the better. It's with my greatest pleasure to have Angelo Nickolas here from South Australia, one of the best agents in Australia, in my opinion, the whole of the world. 190 sales in last financial year, 185 to 190 sales, and that's a huge amount. You need to be so systematic. You need to have processes and stuff to be able to do that for sure. Now, I'll leave it to you. Tell me more about yourself, Angelo, please.
Yeah, now first of all, thank you for having me. Appreciate it. So I'm looking forward to having a chat. So I suppose going back to the beginning. So about 5 years ago, so finished my course and then came into the industry. So I initially caught up with Phil to get a job straight after my course, and got knocked back at that stage. So, we sort of look back and laugh about it now. Went back to the drawing board, and look, I was, fortunate enough to get a job with a local small franchise office in the area. Started as a sales associate to the main agent. So there was essentially a couple of us associates or assistants, and then a couple of main agents in the office. And look, that was great. I was with them for 8 months, and throughout that period, I was able to start to learn the craft of real estate. So essentially, I was just calling all old data, orphan data from that office. Whether it was people that had come through open inspections over the last 2, 3, 4, 5 years. I was also out there as well. I started a service area, so I was out splitting my day between being on the phones and then door knocking, just because I had to start to build my database. Got about to the 7-8 month period, and decided to reach out to Phil Harris again. It would essentially, Harris is a company that I always wanted to join. I'd seen sort of who was in the company, the young environment, what they were achieving, and that was exciting, and I wanted to be part of that. So I reached out to Phil, caught up again, and here we are today. So started with Phil in July 1st, 2015. And at that time, I just decided, look, if I'm going to make the change, I'm going to go out. I was an associate for 8 months, didn't really have a lot behind me, but I thought I'm going to go out and give it a crack and jump all in. So July 1st, 2015, I started at Harris Real Estate as a solo agent. So from there, just had to start to build myself up, build the database. Sort of got into the office and, spoke to a few different agents. I was looking at what Tom Hector was doing, was speaking with Phil, Chris Casey, Simon Noakes, and just to learn to be able to, start to how I was going to build my database. Yeah. I started calling at the beginning, any orphan data as well. So I continued that, any old open inspections that people weren't, speaking to anymore. And then also continued the service area that I had. So the first couple of months, so throughout that July-August period, obviously I didn't sell anything because I didn't have any listings behind me. But it was about September. I started listing in about August. And then from September onwards is when it started to turn around, and the stuff that I was listing was selling, and I was able to build momentum from there.
Amazing. That is an amazing story. You told me before that you were working for a major franchise in South Australia for about 8 months.
So I started there. Yeah, and it just got to the point where I just wanted more opportunity to grow, and it was probably limited in that office, which was fine. It just wasn't suitable down the path on where I wanted to go. So that's when I reached out to Phil again, and caught up and discussed, what I wanted over the next few years and what I wanted to try to achieve. And here we are today. So
I'm sure he's very pleased to have you there. You talked about the farm area or a service area. Is that an area that you dedicated your time and effort to when you just got into the business, and how do you work that?
Yeah, definitely. So look, at the moment, the service area that I have is a bit different. I'm not a complete service area orientated agent. I consider a lot of my business comes from open inspections and clients in the existing database that I've met at Opens over the years and nurtured. And then from there, service area is probably a small part of my business. So early on, though, I did think it was important to try and establish myself in a certain area in the Adelaide market. So I started working through the western suburbs. So the way I'd structure my day essentially is in the mornings, I would get in, and so I follow the AM/PM model. Where, prospecting in the morning, that's where we're out there creating our opportunity purely on the phones from, the 8:30 to 12 period, and then 12 onwards out there in appointments and seeing clients face to face. So I just made the decision early on that I was going to continue, working through building my database through orphan data, people I met at open inspections. So anyone that I met that owned a piece of real estate, I just got them in my database. Started building up from their first name, surname, email, and address. And then from me, that was my time to start to begin that relationship with that person. With the service area that I chose to work in, again, I wanted to, build my name up within that area. So I was out, especially in the early days, I was out there door knocking every day. At that time, I didn't have appointments, many appointments throughout each day. So I had the time to be out there to build my name up. So from 12 onwards, I probably spend, from 1 o'clock to 4 o'clock, maybe 4:30 out there door knocking. So I'd go out, essentially I had every street in the area printed out from RP data. I'd take that with me and then just get through, as many as I could a day. Go out, meet that person, take their details. I would never go out sort of asking for the appraisal or, asking if they wanted to sell. My strategy was just to get my name out there, to build myself up and then provide value. So I'd always learned from the beginning, we're there to provide value to, to our clients, and it's a long-term game. So when I was out meeting people, I would have recent sales in the area as well. So essentially, it's like, hello, I'm, Angelo from Harris Real Estate. Here's some information on what's been happening in the area over the last 6 months. If you need anything else, my details are on there. We'll speak, and from there I'd move on. So it was all about just giving. Because in my head, I thought, there's that person or that homeowner is probably going to hear from 3, 4, 5 different agents a day asking, hey, do you want to sell, or, do you need to sell? But how can I make a difference in that person's life? So
it's a long-term game rather than a sprint, right? It's a marathon, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, 100%. And it's hard at the beginning, especially when you're out there, you're in your first 6-12 months of real estate trying to build your name, and not many people know you. Don't have the runs on the board, and there's a lot of output. You're calling, you're doing your 20, 30, 40 connects each day. You're out in the early days out there door knocking, and whether it's cold and a bit raining, or whether it was a super hot day, you'd think, geez, what am I doing? Like, am I ever going to get any sort of reward for this? But then I'd always just think, like this person here, they might be selling in a year or 2 or 3. If I can just start to build that relationship, it should come back to me. So it was all just thinking long-term.
Yeah, thinking long term rather than short term mentality. You said you get numbers, and what do you do with those details? I'm curious. You add people to your database, and then what does the follow up look like to you, Angelo?
Yeah. So anyone I would aim to have, like I said, the name, surname, email. So just clean data that would go into the database. From there, it determined on what their situation was. So if they were in a position or mindset that they were going to be selling in the next 6 to 12 months, I would just ensure that I was calling them, maybe once a month or every couple of months, providing information on what the area was doing. If it was a homeowner that wasn't planning on selling at all, or they just moved in, I might have spoken to them every 6 months, so once or twice a year. So I just determine it based on what their needs and situations were at the time. And I've got my database segmented essentially into A, B, and C tasks. So the A's, essentially are people that are going to be selling in the next 30 days, or 30 to 60, B, 60 onwards, and then C's were, 90 days plus. So then at least that way, when I was speaking to people, I know their motivation.
Got you. And you said AM and PM. When you started, and what were you doing at the start when you go back to after 8 months when you joined Harris? What were you doing the AM, and what were you doing in the PM?
Well, I suppose before, it wasn't until I actually got to Harris, that's when I really started to create the structure and started to shift my mindset. before that, I was, probably very sporadic, and I didn't have the structure. I didn't have, a lot of the AM/PM model, and I wasn't protecting my time a lot. It was just sort of coming in, doing sort of what was needed, probably being a bit more reactive. When I started at Harris, that's, like I said, I decided, look, you know what, I'm going to give this a very good crack and go all in. So I first set out a plan on what I wanted to achieve. It wasn't just for that year, it was for the next 5 years. So I had that, long-term vision, first of all. And then, I sat down with Phil and Tom and Simon and lots of those guys, and just looked at what they were doing. Not to model them exactly, but just to sort of pick bits and pieces on what was working well. Like they say, success leaves clues, right? So I thought, okay, if I look at what, the great agents are doing in the business and how quickly they're being able to grow, what does their business look like? How can I adopt parts of each of that business and bring it into my own and do it in my own way? And I'm very much a structured and disciplined person. So that model worked for me. So I thought, okay, with the AM, and first of all, the AM PM. So I need to make sure in the mornings when I get in, I'm protecting my time. The morning is all about prospecting. So I would come in before. I'd always make sure I was in the office. Probably by 7 o'clock, I was in the office every day. Between 7 and 8 a.m. I was doing all my administration tasks, because at that time I didn't have an assistant or a team with me. I was a solo agent. So I'd come in, email inquiries, sending out reports, thank you cards, or whatever it may be. So any non-dollar productive activity was done before 8 or after 12. When it got to 8 o'clock, another thing I introduced, which I learned from the guys, was the daily meeting. So again, they would meet with their teams. At that time, I didn't have a team, but I wanted to get in the habits of being a great agent and, what that would take. So 8 o'clock, I'd have a meeting with myself, and it would be just what was on for the day, any offers I was working on, any deals I was trying to put together, any listings I was chasing, just so I could have absolute clarity throughout the day on what I was wanting to achieve. Straight from there, I'd get into my prospecting. And that would go usually from 8:30 to about 11:30, 12 o'clock, in blocks as well. So I'd have a bit of a break in between, 15 break to about 10:30, 10:45. But it was just nonstop on the phone. So, if email inquiries came in, or, I got an appraisal, I wouldn't worry about sending out the pre-list kit or getting back to the email inquiry at that time. It was just all about calling, and it was all about having momentum in those calls. Anything that came up during that period that I had to action, I'd just write down in my day book and make sure I action it after 12 o'clock. Because I think, you see where one thing that's, in this industry that we get a lot of is freedom, right? And I think the freedom is, for a lot of people, is hard to control, and people can be very reactive and think everything that comes through is important, but it's about just prioritizing. So like I wouldn't leave the office before 12. I wouldn't conduct any appraisals before 12. It would always be in the PM. From there, I'd have your lunch break, whatever it is. I'd personally just eat at the desk and continue on with the day, and aim to have appointments throughout the afternoon and evening. If I didn't have any appointments scheduled, especially in the early days, that's when I'd go out and I'd be outdoor knocking. Or meeting clients.
That is amazing. And obviously a structure is needed, like you said. The problem with the business of real estate is there's so much freedom, and we had to manage that freedom. We don't know. Agents get into the business and they say, wow, there's so much freedom. It's not like my last employed job that I had to be there at 9 o'clock and leave at 5. Yeah. Now I've got all these hours. What do I do with it?
Yeah, that's right. Go on, sorry.
And I want to talk about your daily ritual. I'm sure there is, you work on yourself, and talk me through that, please, Angelo. I would love to hear more about it.
Yeah, so I've got my own personal morning routine, but and a great morning routine starts from the night before, right? So in the evening, so I'm someone, well, prior to this happening as well, I'd be up at 5 o'clock every morning. So before, I know the night before I'd had to get a good night rest. So, by 9:30 each evening, I'd be in bed, get a good night's rest, up at 5 o'clock. So my morning routine, not overcomplicated, but, wake up early. I'd be in the gym by 5:30. From there, I'd come back home, had a few morning rituals that I do in terms of visualization, meditation, just getting myself right for the day. Have breakfast, and then I'll just go to the office. So by 6:40, 6:45, I was leaving home, and I'll just be in the office by 7 o'clock. But by the time I got there, I was ready to go. So it wasn't a case of getting into the office, going for a coffee, then there's half an hour, that you kill, coming back, talking to a few people, and then before you know it, the whole morning's gone. For me, I knew, okay, if I get my morning set up right from the beginning, get in the office at 7 o'clock, be ready to go by 8 for my meeting, I was then able to be in the best state for myself to be able to do what I needed to do in terms of the prospecting, dealing with the clients I was dealing with, or, just, being there for colleagues, whatever it may be. But I knew if I was in my best state, then I could, perform in the best way I could. So
we talk about getting yourself right before you can ever serve anybody else. So you talk about a prime example of doing the morning, doing things for yourself to make sure you feel good about yourself, so you can go out there and give to people or help people, serve people. That's amazing. And you were doing the AM, you were doing the PM, you had the morning ritual. That was all going good for you, and you obviously got the system, the structure. At what level, and how many months after you were in the business doing that, it started happening for you, Angelo?
So like I said earlier, it's probably around that September, October period where the work that I was doing, or the listings that I was getting when I started to come through and sell, and started then from there I was having more signboards up around the place. So I just ensured that I was making sure I was prospecting around those signboards as well, to just continue to try and build my brand. So put together some good just sold campaigns and just listed campaigns, so anything I could just to help build my personal brand up. And then it was around later that period, later that year, sort of got into a bit of momentum, and I thought, okay, I had a chat with Phil, and might have been doing 4, 5, 6 hours a month at that period. And I thought, okay, well, what's it going to take to get to the next level for the year after? And that was at the period where I decided to bring on my first team member. And that was in the first year, sort of midway through, beginning of the following year. So from there, it was about being able to grow myself through a team. Because I thought if I can do that, that's going to give me more time to be doing dollar productive things, and have a team member there for support.
Talk to me about the importance of working for the right organization, and what Harris provides for you as opposed to what you were in the last organization where you were used to it.
I personally do think being in the right environment is a significant factor, especially when you get started. But for me, I'm very passionate, I still am, about training, development, and growth, right? So I knew that Harris was an organisation that's one of the values. So it's something that's very important to us, and I wanted to be around that. And not only that, but throughout the organisation, there was a lot of people, a lot of the younger agents as well. So we were able to just to feed off each other, learn from each other, train with each other, hold each other accountable as well. So I'd have a buddy that I essentially just speak to multiple times a day. So it can be very hard when you start by yourself as a solo agent, especially if you don't have that support and the right environment around you. And for me, that helped, just being able to bounce off other agents, and you're always learning, from everyone that you deal with. And for me, that's what I wanted to be around. So
the problem that we have in here in New Zealand is agents get into the business, and there is no direction, there is no trainings. Unfortunately, 9 out of 10 agents fall out to the industry within a year, maximum 2. What would your advice be to somebody like that who's just got into the business and they lost, they don't know what to do?
I think, like, if you are in an office like that, it's not to say that you just got to pack up and leave and get yourself in a different organisation. We're fortunate in the industry that we're in, that where there's so much training readily available online. You can jump online. You've got listen to you've got Tom Panos, you've got Josh Vegans, any agents out there. There's a lot of training videos that you can, it comes down to your personal, discipline around that as well. And personal. You've got to make that decision to want to be able to learn and grow. So everything is available out there. Even early on, myself and a colleague, this was obviously pre-COVID, we each year would get on a plane and would go to, interstate Sydney and Melbourne and just speak to other agents and learn what they were doing. We'd go twice a year. And that was something that we could look forward to. Even here in SA, I constantly catch up with other agents, even with our competitors, just to see what might be working for them. And, we feed off each other. We help each other, in that way. So I think there's so much available out there. It doesn't take much to, pick up the phone and ask to go and sit with, grab a coffee with someone, sit down with an agent that you want to learn from, buy them a coffee and just, ask them questions. So I think we're very fortunate in this industry that is available for us. So,
most good agents like yourself, they're happy to spare some time over a coffee and have a discussion around how you can help somebody else, because obviously people, when we were coming out the ranks, if you will, we were reaching out to people like, and somebody reaches out to you, like just like I did, oh yeah, absolutely. You're a superstar, number one. Number two, you're one of the most humblest guys I've ever seen, and obviously just recently you've been diagnosed with cancer. I was told, and we had a discussion just before off camera about this. How is that affecting your business, and how you moving forwards with that? Because obviously we think real estate is hard. You wait till life hits you with something like that.
It's look, I suppose I'm very fortunate that I've got a great team around me. So I've got two co-agents and a team manager. So there's 4 of us in my team. So last year, when I did get diagnosed, I did have to take a couple of months off, pretty much straight away. But the team were able to still continue. We still, had listings. They were operating through, my database, their own database. So we're able to continue through. But I suppose for me, to answer your question, how it's changed, how I'm doing business at the moment. I suppose prior to this, I was working 7 days a week. I have been for the last 5 years since I started. Like I said, up at 5 in the office by 7, finishing 6, 7, 8 o'clock, doing essentially whatever it takes. I'd always, especially over the last year, and I've been chatting with Phil and Tom about it from Harris. And I'd always say, look, I want to stop working Sundays, or, I've got to start shifting, my options to Fridays to create more time for myself, or whatever it may be. But I never allowed myself to do it. In my head, I just thought, if I stop working Sundays, I'm going to start losing business. I'm not going to be there for my clients as they want me to be there. And I just wouldn't let myself do it. Then something like this happens and it forces you to reevaluate. Because now I know I'm not going to be able to work to the same capacity in terms of the hours I was putting in 7 days a week. But I am, working through strategies on how to still, do the same amount of business that we're doing and more, and continue to grow, deliver the same amount of service that we've been delivering, world-class service that we deal with, and, helping the team grow still, but doing it more in an effective and productive way. So since I got back into work January this year, I probably worked, 1 or 2 Sundays throughout that period, but I've, made a commitment to myself. That's a day that I won't be working. I'm working, it's forcing me to, work with, when I go into listing presentations as well, like I want to focus on, converting a lot more as well. We are a volume-based business. We do a lot of, appraisals, a lot of listings, and work in quite a lot of areas. So for me, it's a good opportunity to, increase my skill set in that area as well. I'm going to, start, instead of, sort of focus on a couple of, areas that I want to work in. And then the other thing is it allows me to help develop my, my team a lot more. And Zach and Todd, who are my team, it's just going to give them more, responsibility, more accountability, and hopefully helps them help their business grow. So, because they'll be involved in a lot more now as well.
So put things in perspective that, number one, hey, life is more important than just working all the time, one. And number two, you become a professional time manager. Now you know that you've got to be so good at even building listing presentation, because you don't want to keep going for listing presentation. You want to list it the first time around.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, and
It,
whether it is something like this, or it's like, having kids, or you're going through something significant in your life. Like, there's always things that occur that are going to force you to change. And look, for me, I'm looking at this as a blessing in disguise. It's making me make that change now, and I think personally, I'll be better for it. The team will be better for it, and our business will be better for it. Moving forward.
I know you'd be stronger than ever before. Well, it's when things like that happen, like you said, you come out the other end even stronger. I haven't been through cancer, but I know people like Tom Panos. Look at him; he's undefeatable now. Look at him! The way he right, the way he holds himself, and people that I know that's gone through things like that, it may be cancer or maybe they're divorced or whatever it may be. They come out way better at the other end. I know that for a fact. And yeah. I know you do amazing. The first year you said you did 33 sales. So 33 sales, there was you and an assistant, right?
That was me for, I suppose, half of the year. And then it was into the second half of that year when I employed my first team member. Now employed as sort of utilising dual roles. So part of their responsibilities were administration. Part of it, and then 50% was still to help with overflow prospecting. Right. So I hired the person with the intention within the next 12 months, we were going to hire a full-time admin. So I just wanted to get someone in the team that could help with the admin, but then also develop their prospecting skills, and I could teach them how to, prospect, list, sell. They're helping me with open inspections, because the plan was in 12 months, they were going to be, they're a co-agent for the team. So and then effectively that happened. And we grew through that next year to be able to bring on our third person, who was a team manager.
Sure.
And she was a full-time admin. And then the co-agent at the time, was full-time prospecting agent. So
sure. And now you're doing 190 sales, 185, 190 sales. Tell me, you gotta have a system, you gotta have a process. Tell me the structure of your team and how everybody works, if you will, please, Angelo.
Yeah, definitely. We're having, especially in a volume-based business, having great systems and structures it's a fundamental. You can't operate doing the volume without it. And again, we're constantly changing our systems and trying to improve them, because what worked yesterday might not work tomorrow. So we might think we have something right, and then we might find that there's a bit of an issue with it, or delay with whatever it might be. So we think, okay, that's a system that we have to then change. So it's constantly evolving, but it all starts, I suppose, with clear job descriptions. So everyone in the teams know what they're responsible for. So my team manager, Daniela, so she knows what she's responsible for, dealing with, with vendors and buyers, pre-sale, post-sale. The two co-agents, so Todd and Zach, they've got their own databases, they've got their own KPIs as well. So there's accountability about what, for them as well. And then for myself as the main listing and selling agent. So we come in each morning, 8 o'clock we meet, we have our daily meeting, and from there we set the day up. So we go through everything that's going on in the business, like every home that we've got in the market, anything that's outstanding, waiting to settle, or any buyers that we're dealing with, any listings that we're chasing, and we can just delegate from the morning on who does what. So throughout the day, there isn't, or throughout our prospecting session or the afternoon, like we're all busy, we're all out and about. There isn't we're not going to just stop and think, okay, who's chasing that buyer up, or what's happening with this listing, or who's chasing the finance on that. We just have it all set up from the morning. We know what's going on throughout the day. We also have an 8 o'clock meeting. We have our 11:30 check-in as well as a team, just in case anything comes up that we all need to be aware of. And before
so you sit down, was it a phone meeting? You guys
when we're in the office together, it's just together. We sit next to each other, so we just all quickly have a quick huddle, go through anything throughout that morning that came up that might need actioning that afternoon. Work out who's going to action those, whether it's a buyer appointment or whether an appointment's cancelled, whatever it may be. And then throughout the afternoon, get on with it, with what we need to do, and we also check in before the end of the day as well. We speak to the team. We speak a lot. We're very much involved with everything we do, because we all need to be across everything we do, but everyone has their main responsibilities with follow-ups. So it just enables us to make sure we're using our time well.
Sure. Very systematic business, of course. It sounds like you can't do 190 sales unless you've got systems in place like you guys have. I don't want to take too much of your time. I know you're a busy man, Angelo. Tell me, um, you were, what is next for you? I know you're doing 197, about 1.65 in commission, 1,650,000 in commission. What is next for you? What does the year ahead look like? I know you were supposed to speak at Eric. I'm looking forward to, which you are, right, in July. Live, right?
Yeah.
So we're excited about that. Now, tell me about, what does the year ahead look like? I'm curious.
I think, the year ahead, the next couple of years ahead, for me, it's all about growth. Like, on a business level, like, I want to be able to, it's all about the team. So I've, the boys in my team, Daniela in my team, they've all got a plan on what they want to achieve over the next few years, whether they want to go out and be their own agent, start their own team, or stay and grow within my current team. So for me, it's all about how can I help them achieve their goals, and, get to where they want to go. At the same time, I want to continue growing my business as well. Essentially, it's not about that, the final destination. Like, we obviously got our numbers we want to hit. We've got, everything that we're chasing, but it's about the journey. The journey is the most important part. And, for me, it's all about, if we can get up each day and just constantly be, better than we were yesterday, and just have small improvements, we're going to be better for it for each other, and then for everyone that we deal with, and to the industry as well. So, for me, it's all about the team and the team growth.
What's beautiful about this generation of agent is, like, all I'm hearing from you is, like, how can I help my clients, and then how can I help my team? If they want to grow, we help them grow in their own, whatever they want to do. If they want to be a solo agent, you help them there. But it's all about, like, what is there for somebody else, which I admire. That's why, like, you as successful as you are, because it's like, one of my mentors, Zig Ziglar, used to say that you can have everything in life you want if you just help enough other people achieve what they want.
That's right. Yeah, definitely. And it's all about having that attitude of gratitude as well. And, for me, I look at it as in all of that has helped me along my career. Like, there's been a lot of people that have given up their time to, assist me with training, development, growth. And that's because if you asked me 5 years ago and told me I'd be doing what I'm doing now, I would have said, you're crazy. Like, I can't do that. It's not me. Yeah. So, it's about, and I look at that, I'm very grateful for that. So I feel like if I can help, others on that level, that's probably the most satisfying part. And everything else is the byproduct. The numbers that come with it are the byproduct. So.
Appreciate it. We help you a very quick recovery, because we want to hear you and Eric, of course. And just before you go, what would you be, if you're going to give 5 tips to an agent who is struggling a little bit, maybe been in the business for 6 months and nothing is going real their way? What would you suggest?
I think first of all, I think you got to get a plan. You got to know where you want to go and what you want to achieve, because without that vision, you don't have the purpose every day, that you got to, when you're going through those tough moments. It's, for me, like, I think about that long-term vision and where I want to go, and that helps me get through. So I think get a plan. Don't make it overcomplicated. Just break down, what you want to achieve on a GCI level, then from what that looks like from the appraisal, listing, sale level, and focus on the small parts. So come in each day and just, focus on what you need to do in terms of making those calls, getting the appraisals that you need that are going to help you achieve that long-term goal. So getting a good plan is one. It's all about consistency as well. So I think anyone can come in and, have a great day, have a great month, or whatever it is, but it's about doing it day in, day out, whether you feel like it or not. And that's, I suppose, tying into starting your day right and getting yourself right. So consistency is key, because I think with you look at all the top performers out there in the country, you look at James Tostevens, the Alex Phillips, they come in and they just do it every day better than anyone else, on the planet. So have the plan, build consistency. Discipline is a big thing as well. You got to have discipline and have the right behaviors, whether it's around time management, whether it's around the tasks, or whether it's around, training, or whatever it may be. So just get super disciplined. Have a passion for learning and growing. Like, get out there, learn as much as you can, just soak in as much information as you can, and get your listing presentation to an 8 out of 10. Get your prospecting to an 8 out of 10. Get your negotiation to an 8 out of 10. That will just enable you to have a fantastic career, in the industry. And then I suppose the last thing is just, I suppose you want to be able to help others as well, along the way. So as you're learning and growing, help others that are going through the same thing. And it's a good way to hold yourself accountable. So
learn and be generous about how you can help other people do better. Because the best way to learn, the best way to know things better than ever is learn how to teach somebody else, right?
Right. Yeah, definitely. And, if you look at where you want to go, look at the people that, you look up to and that you admire, and, have model those behaviors, model the person who you want to become, not who you are today. So if you want to be a $1 million agent or $2 million or whatever it looks like, $500,000 agent, look at that person and go, what are they doing? What does their business look like? And how can I adopt that to myself? So.
Exactly. It's called the science of achievement. If you want to do something like somebody else has done, all you do is just follow what they've done, how they've done. Like you said, blueprint, success, leave clues, I suppose.
You don't have to, we're not here to reinvent the wheel.
Exactly.
It's all out there. So.
I appreciate you. Thank you very much for your time, Angelo. You're a legend. And I wish you very quick recovery. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yes,
I've seen you before, as I come to Harris a few times.
Yeah.
I've seen you before, but we haven't spent time, and I would love to come and catch up with you over lunch and have a conversation with you. You're a legend. Thanks, man. Appreciate your time. Cheers. Bye-bye.